Hello, and welcome to another fully live episode of Hacking with Friends. My name is Kody Kinzie. I am a security researcher at Varonis, and today I'm going to be answering your live ethical hacking questions. And of course, we are running on hacker time. So also where I am, there's a massive snowstorm and the power could go out. So if suddenly everything goes dark, it's probably just a snowstorm. So hope everyone is doing okay out there. It's been really cold, and I've been using that opportunity to build some like weather monitoring prototypes and use CircuitPython to make some cool like weather dashboards. But I've also gotten within, I think, like 20 degrees of the minimum operating temperature of the microcontrollers that I'm working with. So that was pretty crazy to realize that it was like actually when I was getting close to negative 30, pretty close to when these microcontrollers might start behaving kind of funky or not work properly. So crazy, really cold out there. But yeah, good to see everyone as well. Sid, Ronil, and James, of course. Yeah, it's been wild. Everybody who thought they were going to be doing outdoor winter activities like skiing or anything in my area has had to reschedule because the weather is not suitable for human life, is what the local weather said. So yeah, things getting crazy out there. But my first project I just wanted to show off is this. So this is a weather reporting nugget that I've been working on just to demonstrate a couple things. One, how you can just basically plug in a humidity, actually, never mind, this is a pressure and temperature sensor into the back of Nugget, and it just works. Like, it's really cool. I was able to write a quick script with CircuitPython, and of course I added on Aria's battery add-on to make it so it could survive outside for quite some time. This is a e-waste vape battery that I salvaged, but of course you could put a bigger one on here. And this one ran pretty much all night logging data. And what's cool about it is it isn't just displaying it on the screen. It's also connecting to Wi-Fi and sending that information to Adafruit.io, which lets me log it, graph it, and do all kinds of other cool stuff. So I'm going to be at some point actually teaching a class on how you can kind of create one of these like logger devices or IoT devices just from some parts and CircuitPython. I'm pretty impressed with Adafruit.io. I've been using it for a while, and I think I really want to do a class on it. So that's one of the things I've been working on. If you want to see more of what it looks like on my InfoSec exchange, you can see this is a much closer view of the entire project. And yeah, this open image in a new tab. Yes, that sounds good. Just want to show off exactly what I'm doing here. So I have this really cool battery LiPo add-on board that our friend Aria designed. We're hopefully going to be making more of these. That is kind of the basis of this. And then I just stuck this kind of right through that board and soldered on some extra pin headers so I could plug the entire thing into the back and power it with this very sketchy little battery, which has gotten slightly puffy since I started using it, but not too bad. And this was cool. Yeah, if anybody's looking for a cool little platform for doing monitoring, my only feedback on this is, this is outside of the case of the Nugget, and it's facing, out towards the ambient air. With adequate airflow, I would say that this is a pretty viable design. However, in an enclosed area or over time, I think that the microcontroller heating up is probably going to interfere with the temperature. Interestingly, the microcontroller that I'm using here, the ESP32S2, actually has a temperature sensor on board, but it's like basically like jammed into the CPU. So it's telling me like the CPU temperature, which is like going to be hotter than the ambient environment, and it's going to be wrong for what I'm looking for on this. So even though there is already a temperature sensor built into this microcontroller, this is a fun little weather project that I'm going to make some 3D prints around and then teach a little class on how to write your own CircuitPython to log something and then have it be accessible over Wi-Fi. So I love creating little IoT like loggers and stuff like that. I'm like so enamored with how easy it's become to take a prototype and just make it work. In this case, I left this out in the snow and it got very cold and wet, and it's still working. So I'm pleased with that. But obviously I'm going to want to create an enclosure that like kind of tidies all this back part up here. But yeah, that's one of the things I did during this deep freeze. How cold is it at your location? So my coldest measured temperature out here was about negative 32 degrees. At the time that I was testing this Nugget, it got down to 9 degrees, which was cold. But previously, when I was doing this experiment, I used a probe to extend the distance from the Nugget to the actual temperature, and I was able to get a reading I think is negative 18. Yep, negative 18 degrees Fahrenheit. So pretty cold. Pretty cold. But obviously this is just this was not the coldest day. This was, I think, the second or third coldest day this last week. So yeah, it got down there. All of our windows have like rings of ice around them, and if there's a leak, you immediately know it, because the whole house becomes freezing. I use pressure drops to detect bad weather coming in. It's pretty reliable. Yeah, actually, so my friend was advising me that a previous version of this project I made was not very useful because it was actually logging humidity. And I thought that that would be really interesting. And it wasn't, because when I looked at the humidity and the temperature, they were kind of like inverted from each other because they have such an influence on each other. And I really I could kind of almost infer the humidity from the temperature because of how cold it is here and how like kind of linear that relationship was. So it actually wasn't the most interesting sensor to have. I was advised that a pressure sensor would be much more interesting because it would mean I would be able to detect, yes, drops in pressure and bad weather coming in. So with the combination of like a drop in pressure and a drop in temperature, it's much more indicative of like a winter storm or something, which is cool to see. Let's see. Where can I find the open source Nugget repo if I want to build one / solder one myself? Check our Discord. If you go to nugget.dev, there's a Discord server linked on there, and I'm sure I'll link it. And you can ask on there. There's links to the GitHub repo. There's everything you would need to do that. What is it that I'm hacking here? I'm hacking together a Nugget to turn it into a weather station because it's so cold and I want to log it. And I also want to see at what point this all fails. So, you know, the battery has a certain rated temperature, I'm sure. And then, you know, like the microcontroller in here has a certain rated temperature. So I've been able to kind of torture test these and see in extreme circumstances, like, does this really work? And so far the answer is yes. I've been pretty pleased with the performance. All right, so some other things that I've been testing, Nugget related this week, is gonna be this. Let's see if I can expand this. Okay. So this is a demonstration showing off a Nugget that is running a proof of concept for Bluetooth spamming. So you can see my iPad here is going absolutely crazy as I tried to read one of my favorite books, Open Circuits. And the Nugget is spamming out a bunch of, oh, well, InfoSec Exchange. I try to love Mastodon so much, but then it like screws up all my video and like makes it difficult to share media. Just a little complaint. But anyway, as you can see, like things pop up, the Nugget is relentless, and it's showing off that cool little like blue light indicating, hey, like I'm hacking stuff. I'm actually like putting out Bluetooth packets. So that is pretty cool. This is code that originally I saw on this video. So this is a member of our community in our Discord server who created this awesome, I'm going to mute it, this awesome Bluetooth spammer tool that kind of walks you through the process of creating some of these spam attacks that you've probably seen. There's also the reverse that catches Bluetooth spammers. So this video is showing off how you can actually use a second tool to track down people that are using flippers, you know, like ESPs or even nuggets in Bluetooth spam attacks. And it's kind of like a DOF detector, I would describe it as, but for Bluetooth attacks. Pretty cool. I didn't really know that was a thing. So in this case, it's looking for like over advertisements, like kind of like too many advertisements to make sense. So if you were on like a train or an airplane or something, then this actually, you know, maybe would go off by accident. Like if you were getting pairing requests from like a bunch of different devices. But under normal circumstances, you probably wouldn't see that many like Bluetooth pairing requests going out. So if you suddenly saw a large amount, it's pretty clear that this is like part of that new Bluetooth spam attack. So this new detector Nugget is going to alert on it. That is really cool. So I tested out the Nugget that spams, which I have here in my hand. It's the special version that uses the ESP32S3. And right now you have to make these from a kit. I don't really like offer these directly for sale, but you know, if you buy the kit, then you can build it, and it does let you do a lot of cool Bluetooth stuff. It's kind of convinced me to kind of rush forward the Bluetooth version that I was already working on. But yeah, this is really cool to see both the problem and the solution both created by the same person. And again, like this person didn't like create this Bluetooth spam attack, and it is available for the Flipper. I think it's even available for like Android devices. It's pretty easy to do. So the fact that they brought it over to the Nugget is just another research tool. But creating a Bluetooth spamming detector, like that is truly interesting. So if you want to try this out, you can do it. Actually, this is all on GitHub. I would give this a 7 out of 10, no, maybe a 6 out of 10 for difficulty. In terms of getting it set up. So I went ahead and was just like, I don't want just this one. I want to look at all of them. And then in the repos, the Nugget BLE spam is the one that I set up. So, because, you got to have the spammer before you have the detector. So you download all this, you open it up in GitHub, or sorry, not GitHub, in Arduino. And my Arduino on my MacBook is broken. So I had to do this on a second computer, but I got it all up and running. And then I tried to compile it and it was like, error, missing this library. I was like, what? And then it was like, error, missing this library. And I was like, no. And I was like, error, missing this library too. And then, at a certain point, I was like, okay, I'm going to have to import a bunch of stuff. So I sat down and it took me about 20 minutes to like import this and that and other things that kind of like weren't originally mentioned. But I got it working. So I have a binary file that should just work on this version of the Nugget. And I'm going to take that binary file and make it available so that if you don't want to open Arduino IDE and find out what all these missing libraries are, you don't have to. It's fine. So yeah, that's kind of what I did, making sure that other people can try this out. If they do happen to build a Bluetooth Nugget and they get frustrated with the installation, was my goal for the last couple of days, and it's done. So yeah, it was pretty cool. Let's see. So again, if you get this up and running and you want to try out something else really cool, then the BLE spam detector should help you track down like nearby devices that are spamming these Bluetooth attacks. So I love this. I think that like a deauth detector kind of program, but for Bluetooth is exactly like what we need to make these sorts of attacks more obvious. Especially because for me as an Android user, like I'm completely unaffected by this one. Like, like nothing happens. Like people were telling me at the C3 conference that it was quite annoying and a lot of people were having it impact their devices. And for me, I didn't notice. Like my iPad was just like slightly less usable. So yeah, I would just remind everyone, like, please do be courteous with this, especially for people with iOS devices. It is still really annoying. Like, let me see if I've got a line I can plug into. Unplugging the laptop during a stream, risky. All right, so I'm plugging this in here and I just want to demonstrate why this is annoying. So, all right, Nugget Bluetooth spammer. I'm going to go for the random spam and it is now spamming. So you can see from the blue light. Whoa, okay, it's actually messing. So it wants me to join this Apple TV. No. It wants me to join this new network. No. It's just going to keep popping up and popping up and popping up. And there's no way to stop it. You can turn off Bluetooth. You can do all sorts of stuff. And it does not matter. It'll continue to do that. It also, as soon as I turned it on for some reason, messed with our microphone. So if I cut out for a second, then I'm pretty sure that it was just like a USB issue. But if it was spilling over to the microphone, then that would be something. I'm going to plug this in and never unplug it ever again. Okay, so as you see, it's not very nice to run these Bluetooth attacks on iOS devices. They are like, I would describe them as denial of service attacks, really. So having like a deauth detector for that sort of attack is kind of overdue, in my opinion. The only thing I would say is I would also love a signal detector. So you can kind of see like the signal strength of like these Bluetooth attacks incoming. So you could get closer and closer and closer, because with these spamming attacks, enough radio action is going on out there that you could try to lock onto a signal and get closer and closer. Now, if multiple people were spamming, it would totally throw the system off and it would make it much more difficult to use. But you could play hot and cold with people who are doing this Bluetooth spam attack and tell them to please stop disrupting your conference or your event, theoretically using this tool if you were to integrate received signal strength as well. So love to see that this is able to detect the attack, and I see absolutely how it could be tuned even further to be able to track down people that are doing this disruptive and very easy to run attack. Again, I don't know how long this is going to last, because one software update from Apple is really all it's going to take to make this feature harder to abuse. But for now, it seems pretty wide open. And the fact that you can make an iOS device totally unusable by having all these pop-ups and making it so people can't really use it without swiping out and swiping out It reminds me of like an old school virus where, just like browser windows like keep opening and like you can't like click out fast enough. Super funny. So yeah, be careful with these attacks. Obviously, you can make some people very angry. And if you are disrupting critical equipment, there has been some evidence that this could perhaps cause problems with medical devices and other Bluetooth devices. Then again, this does seem pretty segmented just to like Apple devices for now. So who really knows? But still, always be careful when doing these sorts of attacks. Okay, here's a comment. Someone in my town jammed the signals at the courthouse during their friend was having a hearing and it got canceled. Yeah, that'll get you a warrant. Yeah, be really careful with these sorts of jamming and disruption attacks. Especially like, so there's different levels of illegal when it comes to jamming. So we have like jamming, like what was just described, where like cell phones don't work and like Wi-Fi doesn't work. And that's because we're blasting out energy on the spectrum that's making it really difficult for other devices to process or even receive any other signal because it's just so loud. Then we also have things like Wi-Fi jamming, where we're actually sending packets that are like a protocol-based jamming packet that allows it to be disconnected over and over without actually doing anything malicious, aside from giving an instruction that causes an unexpected event. In this case, to permanently be disconnected from the network until we stop attacking. So that sort of jamming attack is a lot less legal because it could be directed against a single person. It doesn't necessarily affect everything around it. And there are cases where it is permissible. But the kind of jamming attack that was just described, like shutting down everything, like it'll have a big impact. But yeah, it's also super illegal because it prevents people from calling 911, and it will definitely prevent devices from connecting to each other, which could be like medical devices or other sorts of emergency equipment. Yeah, I've seen these jammers before. They used to be really easy to get from China, and there were some people who I saw using them to varying degrees of efficacy. So if you're going to just do something super illegal like that, it's good to know if it's actually going to work or not. And I will say, like, while these sorts of jammers were useful against like clamshell cell phones that are on like 3G, once things kick up to 4G or LTE or whatever, then those jammers like typically don't work. Yeah, while dramatic and super illegal, they are not always effective. Okay. Other stuff that I want to show off this week. And of course, if you have any more questions, feel free to drop them in. Is there any docs for making Flipper Zero? No, I've never seen a Flopper Zero doc, although a lot of their stuff is either open source or source available. I think their PCB design is the only thing that's not open source. So if you wanted to make a flopper yourself and you wanted to like, make it like hideous, but like have roughly the same hardware, you could totally do that. And provided you got close enough, like it seems like their software open source, able to be applied to it, you could make your own Franken flipper and it would be totally fine. As far as like what I can see, like I did, I kind of did a deep dive on like their licensing and what you can and can't do. And it seems like, yeah, you can fork, copy, and modify their software. They don't care. It's just the PCB design is not fully available. But with enough reverse engineering, it seems like you could just put their software on whatever Frankenstein monster you create. Yes, I have been on a quest to find a fake flipper, which I have dubbed a flopper. Ever since the flipper came out, I'm waiting on a Chinese manufacturer to make the first Flopper Zero. I thought I saw one, but like Lily Go actually is a reputable company that made a thing that was not a flopper, and it instead was actually a lot less exciting. But yeah, there have been some things out there that look like a flopper, but I've never seen a legitimate knockoff flipper before. So I'm still looking, and maybe you could be the first one to make it. All right, so let me go through a couple more things I had this week. So if you know me personally and have been trying to reach out to me on Signal, I have found a way to crash Signal. If you attempt to call me at my old number, it actually crashes the Signal application on the part of anyone that's talked to me before. This is because I got a new phone, and if anybody has transferred Signal from an old phone to a new phone, you know that you have to do it exactly right, or it causes a lot of problems. In my case, I think I transferred my account over. I set it up to a phone number I currently have access to, but it wasn't the original phone number from my Signal account. And I was like, oh, I'll just change it. And then I changed my number to that original number. That destroyed everything. So don't ever do that. Don't ever do that, because now I am a new contact to everyone. If you try to contact me, it crashes your phone, and also I've been kicked out of every group I'm in. So that was fun. But anyway, yeah, if anybody knows about this quirk of Signal, let me know, because I've just kind of accepted that like every single person that's ever talked to me now has no way of contacting me again, unless they add this new contact, which has the exact same number. So it doesn't always work. I basically seem to have broken Signal as a means of communication. Also wanted to point out some really beautiful PCB art. I've seen some better photos, honestly, of these PCBs, but one of the things I really missed about going to conferences was getting to see people using materials in super creative ways. This is one of my favorites. So these have a bunch of LEDs reversed on the back. So the LEDs are actually pointed down at the PCB and are shining through the PCB, which is translucent and has really good diffusion. So like it makes it very, very smooth to see these colors change. I love PCB art like this. I honestly think it's so cool. And I saw a couple pieces at the C3 conference that I'm going to be shouting out in a subsequent video. But these are just some of the examples of like really excellent, well put together art that I love to see. So yeah, if you're looking for some cool ways of using printed circuit boards to make art, like I love stuff like this. And I think the maker community is definitely leveling up when it comes to all the stuff that they've found you can do with normal like circuit board processes. So yeah, really, really cool. I also have some comments on the channel. I haven't really gone through this in a while. You know, that's I'm gonna do it. Let's see what has been on the security forward channel. So first, a lot of people have just like found the channel recently, which is interesting to me. You know, obviously like Nullbyte has almost 900,000 subscribers, and I've been talking to them about possibly doing more content on there. But they dropped off communication. Like I haven't heard from them since before the new year. So who knows? Like, I don't know what's going on. Maybe they'll try to do some stuff with the channel. That would be fun. And then reach back out to me when it doesn't go well. I'm not really sure. But running that channel is really hard. So good luck to them if they choose to do that. But yeah, so a lot of people have not seen that we, in fact, are here. And we did a series of live streams with Nullbyte, like security forwarded Nullbyte, and that was really cool. And then we got hit with content strikes like 4 weeks ago, where those videos were taken down because whoever owns Nullbyte now claimed like a copyright on it. And like everybody at my company got a big email about it. Like it was like a big kerfuffle. So yeah, like it's surprising to me that people are still you know, finding us from there, just because the like 3 live streams we did together have been taken down as a result of a copyright strike. So yeah, we did do some stuff with Nullbyte for a while, and people did find us from there for a little bit, but it seems to have kind of dropped off. Yes, so we also did this was one of the most difficult series that I've had to do, because even though I love, you know, like covering like hacker movies and stuff, we got so many copyright strikes, even using like super, super short, like pieces of it, or having like me literally over it, like Mystery Science Theater style, like talking. Like this was not enough. We got hit with so many copyright strikes, we couldn't upload anything for like 2 weeks. So while this was one of our most popular projects, like I just like, I don't have the energy to do it again. It was so hard. YouTube made it so awful. So yeah, if you've ever considered doing hackers react to hacking scenes, this cost us dearly. So I'm glad that they're popular, honestly. Let's see, airdrop tracking and more. What did I talk about crypto coding? Oh, right. Yeah, I think that this was, yeah. Okay. I remember what this is. So this viewer is talking about I think the North Koreans were calling it Operation Dream Job, where a lot of hackers are trying to steal crypto by inviting crypto developers to like an amazing job where they have to do an interview. So in the interview, the hackers will be like, okay, like you're doing really good. We want to give you like a live coding exercise, and we want you to like import a library that we use like all the time at our company. So, you know, it's some like innocuous seeming library. They import it on like NPM or whatever. And then like, they're like, okay, great. Like, go ahead and compile your code, run it, and let's see if it works. And the developer compiles the code, they run it, it works. And the hackers is like, you're so great. Okay, we'll get back to you in a day or two with our decision about hiring you. And then they block them. And at that point, the crypto is already gone, because in the NPM package, there was some malicious backdoor or something that allowed them to like wipe out that person's cryptocurrency wallet, and all their doges and all their other stuff are gone. So this is becoming increasingly popular, and because it's kind of expected that, you know, live coding exercises are a part of job interviews, it's highly motivating to get a job offer that would like change your financial status, like change your life. Like, so a lot of people fall for it. And how easy it is to insert these backdoors. Like, you know, if you have a malicious library that somebody imports and then they compile code and run it, you've basically run a virus on their computer. So going after these developers is a smart strategy. You know, it allows these hackers to target people that are highly likely to have crypto, since they're crypto developers themselves, and also use a process that's pretty normalized, that being the coding interview, to actually get them to run malicious code. So wild. Probably my favorite story from last week. Also, thank you for the compliment on my haircut. And yes, I don't know why some people don't get notifications when we go live. But we should be generating notifications. So yeah, make sure you're subscribed and set up for notifications. I guess if nobody's getting notifications, please let me know. So this was a funny exchange. I was talking about the Pinocchio AI browser. So this is a tool that allows anybody that wants to try out AI tools. That could be voice cloners or like all this other like cool stuff, like oh wait, not Dolly. What's the other? Midjourney. No, not Midjourney. Oh my gosh, I've been out of the game for a minute. The other one, Stable Diffusion. There we go. If you want to try that out locally, then this is something that allows you to import all that stuff, run it very easily, and sometimes it's just in a couple of clicks, which I really like for an AI tool. Yeah. So, oh, here's a great question. What is your choice about what is your web hoster of choice? Who do you choose for web hosting? All right. So my current personal website is a link tree. And I did this because so many people from Nullbyte like want to use my personal website to try things out on, or would like send me emails about like a bug in my website, that I was just like, I'm done. Like, I don't want to have a website anymore. This isn't fun. So I just went and removed all the hosting. And previous to that, I think I was using like Bluehost, something like that. I've heard good things about them. But I just like kind of stopped using any hosting aside from like GitHub and Linktree. So I have sidestepped the problem because I'm not hosting anything. So yeah, unfortunately, I probably can't give you good advice, but I have heard good things about Bluehost. I'm sure other people at the chat would have some other suggestions. But yeah, I just got tired of it because, you know, you teach people about how to do like malicious scans and all this other stuff, and the first thing they want to do is like do it against your personal website if you're the teacher. So I would love to put up like a deliberately vulnerable website that people can attack and scan, but like I don't know of a web host who would enjoy hosting that. Like most of them have reservations for that sort of thing. So yeah, I have not been using web hosting for a little while, just because I got so many emails being like, sir, hello, I found a vulnerability in your website, please pay me and I will tell you. And it's like, I'd rather just take it down, honestly. Why are there so many gatekeepers on the road to be a pen tester? I think a lot of people put a lot of they put a lot of themselves into their job, and their job makes up a lot of their personality. It's something where like it's a big part of their identity, I guess would be a better way of saying it. And as a result, they have kind of a vested interest in feeling like they have a say of like who belongs and who doesn't belong as a member of this community that they identify with. And that causes a lot of toxicity sometimes, unfortunately, when it comes to people who are beginners or just getting started. You know, there are people who are very attached to their roles, and they have a status within that community, and they feel like those skills make them either like untouchable, or it makes them like so that they don't need to get along with other people. And that's probably the worst quality that like hackers or IT people or computer scientists or like any of these like technical people have, is thinking that they're so good at their job that they don't need to be good to work with. And that's really hard, because you do have people who might not succeed all the time in a traditional structure, like finding something they're really good at and suddenly being valued, and then like not having those soft skills, or finding it really difficult, or just maybe not even seeing the point in developing those skills. And those people are really hard to work with. They're really hard to work with because they think that, you know, their skills at a task are a replacement for the fact that you might not feel like welcome or even like you want to work with them, you know. So I've had my fair share of people who are, you know, brilliant jerks, I believe they are called, who have tried to make me feel like unwelcome, or who have tried to compare their careers to mine unfavorably. And for me, it's just like I have such a weird career. You know, I was a bouncer for a while. Like, so like anything that like somebody in the tech community has to say to me that's mean, like pales to comparison to what like drunk lawyers used to tell me as I would like pull them out of our freight elevator and tell them that they couldn't pee in there, you know? So like, I've already heard it. And like, for me anyway, like I can identify when someone's being defensive versus when someone has legitimate problems with my work, you know? And I also think I have a pretty good read on expectations for like what I'm supposed to know at a given period. But I find that in everything. And I think that that's probably the hardest thing to accept in any career is the kind of resistance you get from teachers, from people that are in your class, or from other people that are already in the industry. A personal example I had that wasn't in cybersecurity but did have to do with this was I had a metal shop teacher who apparently was a really good teacher for other people, but for me, they were bullying, they were demeaning. If you asked for like more instruction or like more help with something, they would accuse you of not paying attention in the first place or tell you that you were being lazy. And at one point, like I needed to use like a lathe machine, like something that like is spinny and dangerous and can like take your fingers off. And I was just like, hey, this is my first time using it. Do you mind walking me through this again? And the guy was like flabbergasted. He was just like, you mean to tell me that 2 weeks into this class, you still don't know how to use this? I was like, I don't feel safe using it. Like, so I'm asking for you to instruct me on how to use it so I don't take my fingers off. And he made this like big deal and tried to make me feel bad about asking for questions. I'm like, listen, don't beat yourself up, buddy. Like if I don't know how to use it at this point, that reflects worse on you than it does on me. You're the teacher here. I'm asking you for instruction. And that kind of straightforward attitude, like I thought the guy was going to try to like get in a like a loud verbal argument with me, but he shut up. And for the rest of the class, he was very respectful. I was like respectful to him as well, but I don't feel like as a student or someone who's a beginner, you should have to feel ashamed of that. And I don't think that somebody who's in a position to teach you should feel anything other than like wanting to make sure that you understand how to use this thing safely and that you understand and that you feel comfortable doing it. You know, so like the same thing applies to cybersecurity. Like if somebody's acting like that towards you and is trying to make you feel like, you know, your questions are stupid and it's your first time, there's a problem there and you shouldn't ignore it. You know, for me, sometimes it's finding another teacher. Sometimes it's just recognizing that this isn't normal and making sure that I check myself before I start like turning inwards to assign blame. Like people like that who are willing to like yell at you or gaslight you or like make you feel like you haven't been paying enough attention when legitimately it's your, you know, you're just learning, you're just getting here. Those are the worst part of cybersecurity, and but it's not just cybersecurity, it's everywhere. So yeah, this is a large, complicated field. It's impossible to be an expert at everything. And sometimes the people that are like experts in one specific area, they don't like generalists. You know, they like people who are going to settle down and learn about the details and stay there for a very, very long time. So, you know, there's a lot of clashing between generalists and specialists. I find as a generalist, a lot of specialists don't appreciate me. You know, even though it takes maybe a whole team to do a project and I can do it okay, I can do an okay job, but for them, they would need like 3 other people to help them to do all the stuff that I can do that's extra. So there is an argument for generalists, there's an argument for specialists, but a lot of that gets drowned out in just like kind of like a gatekeeping kind of deal, especially around pen testing. So security people, I hate to say this, but security people are like worse than other hackers when it comes to this sort of thing. I don't find, well, okay, maybe hardware people arguing in the comments of Hackaday articles might be on the same level. I don't know. But you do find some people that have been in the institution for a long time being less than friendly, less than welcoming to newcomers, and like calling them script kiddies, like not understanding why they're trying to use automation or trying to make things easier. You know, it's something that just comes up. So yeah, you are not imagining this. It is a real thing. And yeah. I don't believe this. I worked with you when you were a bouncer. Are you for real? Okay, if that's true, then where did I work as a bouncer? No looking at my LinkedIn, that's cheating. But yeah, I trained a lot of people at this particular music venue, and I was originally I was the equipment supplier, so I was the one like making sure everybody got like flashlights and radios and like programming the radios and all that. So yeah, I've had a lot of different jobs, but yeah. So I found in like security, it was the same, like security, cybersecurity. It's kind of the same attitude. I did a security audit of a music venue that is in Los Angeles. It was not the one I worked at. It was a new job. and I audited them, and I was just like, hey, I spoke to the manager. I was like, hey, I'm gonna try to bring in paint, weapons, like everything you're not supposed to bring in. And I was like, I'm gonna take these fake IDs from the last job that I had taking fake IDs, and I'm gonna use the fake ID to get into the venue as well. So I'm just gonna prove that your guys like just aren't paying attention. So I went on my first day, audited the front door, didn't even check in my bag, and I came in and I went to the manager's office, and I gave him like 2 cans of paint, like a big like fake knife, like a fake like all this stuff that you're not supposed to have in a venue, and then the fake IDs that we got in with. It was like, my friend's under 21, like this is a fake ID, like doesn't even look like them. And that person was not a good manager, went back, spoke to the other people, and was like, you guys messed up so bad, this guy caught you. And then I ended up getting iced out by the entire security team. And ended up not being able to do anything other than enforce an imaginary line on the floor for 2 weeks before I quit, after having been hired as a security manager. So this happens in everything, like the people being institutionally like maybe not great at everything, but having a job for a very long time, it makes them very defensive. And if you come in wrong or too hot, or if you have a manager that doesn't know how to manage that sort of thing, then you can have a lot of friction. I quit. Like, I didn't want to deal with it. So I've never hesitated to quit a job that I think sucks. Sometimes like people who are already in that role and that are causing friction, even if they're not good at their jobs, can still make it so it's just not worth it. Okay. Love your work. Why many companies have demand for pen testers or junior pen testers or other positions, but don't give a chance to newcomers? That is a great question. So a lot of... Okay, so Aaron claims that he knows where I used to work. I have to confirm that, yes, in fact, I did work at the Echo. So hello. Good to see you. All right, so back to this question. That's really funny though. It's great to see someone from the Echo. Times were rough back then. Like, this tooth is still cracked from those days. Anyway, so Black Hills Security, Black Hills InfoSec, actually has a really good reputation. Back from when I was doing Nullbyte, they were some of the best people who are putting out informational guides and making it really easy for newcomers to get started. So I noted like their investment in like education, and a fair number of the people that used to work with me at Nullbyte ended up going over to Black Hills. So obviously they support content creators, they support beginners. Like, so yeah, if you're looking for like a pen testing company, like specifically pen testing, they're great for that. I'm, again, much more general. I do everything from like maker stuff, as you saw from my weather station earlier, all the way through like cybersecurity stuff, as you saw from our Bluetooth attack earlier. So like, because I kind of straddle that line, like I see both worlds, but if you're very focused on pen testing, red teaming, then Black Hills seems to be a pretty good place. Used to be the lighting guy upstairs. Okay, that's cool. The lighting was like the only thing that was like super fun about the Echoplex. I guess the sounds too, but I recently got intrigued by OSINT and came across your videos. Hey, thank you. Yeah, so it's funny how people find my stuff, because some people find it via my investigation stuff. And I actually have a whole, like, aside from cybersecurity, I had like a whole training side of the business that was just OSINT. So like, I would use like security tips and stuff like that too. But like, I used to get flown out to like Norway to teach like journalists how to do online research, and it was really fun. I really enjoyed it. I also got a lot of like offers to do like police training, but OSINT is such a squishy thing. Like, you really need to be an excellent investigator, and I feel like honestly, like, journalists have like the harder job. Maybe, I don't know, just my opinion. So I've done some journalist training, and a lot of people have actually found me from my OSINT stuff. That could be like just simple Google dorking, using databases, writing your own tools to scrape databases. I love that stuff. So yeah, a lot of my roles at past companies have been like hunting down difficult to find data, or business intelligence, which is basically researching your competitors so you can decide where you're going to spend your money based on how your competitors are spending money. That's things like doing like job listing OSINT. So like finding out like what roles your competitors hiring for, and like what types of skills they're asking for, which lets you know what their tech stack is. There's all sorts of like sneaky, interesting research things you can do that I personally love to do, and I've done lots of videos on. So if you're finding me from the OSINT community, it's distinct. It's like, it's kind of separate from the hacker community, just like makers are kind of separate from the like security part of the hacker community. There's a lot of different kind of like segments here, but yeah, if you're coming from my OSINT work, it's good to see you. And if you haven't seen my OSINT work before, then I like to do a lot of investigation stuff. And I particularly love databases and then tools like Maltego that allow you to kind of stitch things together. Let's see. Opinion on smart home automation, AI control, and the fear of losing your home, like in Mr. Robot. I don't like smart home automation. I don't use it personally. I don't think it's like that useful. Like I'm over like I worked in a music venue for 4 years. Like I know what blinky lights and lasers and stuff look like. Like I'm fine with it. Like I don't need it in my house. I also think that when it comes to like sensors and monitoring, like I just build my own and like use things that I know and trust and enjoy. There are some like, I think that there's like an Alexa or like, no, there's like an Amazon Fire TV or something in our house. That's one of my roommates. But aside from that, Michael, if you remember my former co-host, that guy loves home automation. He would automate the toilet if he could somehow. There were little like presence sensors like all over the house. But the thing is like they're annoying to set up. And like once you set them up, like what do they do? Like the dream of home automation, I've seen people realize it. But for me, I would rather have everything be done. I just don't care. Like, and the things that are smart, like this, where is it? There, like this hex leaf thing, that's just WLED. And like I made it, like I connect to it directly over Wi-Fi, or I just use the WLED app on my phone to automatically discover it on the Wi-Fi and connect to it. The downside is it doesn't have authentication. So could someone connect to like the smart lights in the house that I built? Yeah, but they would just be like manipulating like 3 art displays that I made. Like it's nothing, it's nothing like in Mr. Robot where like the temperature is going to get crazy and like whatever else. So none of my stuff in any of the places I live is directly connected to like smart things. Anytime one of our roommates gets on a kick about it, like I'll let them do their thing. And then typically you have like abandoned like IoT devices, like no longer being controlled, just like arbitrarily connected to the network, waiting for someone to attack them. And I have to say, like, my biggest thing is I have a bunch of these like smart like light bulbs, and they use the same chipset as the Wi-Fi Nugget. So a lot of the attacks, it all works. You could flash it over, and like maybe the light bulb wouldn't turn on if you flash it and didn't have enough room to control the light bulb too. But I have seen versions of the firmware that allow you to do basic light control, and then also like Wi-Fi scans or attacks or things like that. So pretty interesting that you could turn a light bulb into like a Wi-Fi deauthor effectively and start like attacking other light bulbs, taking them offline, doing scanning to tell when someone's home or not. You could basically turn them into like the CIA was doing this program where they were turning routers into like a little intelligence station. It was called Cherry Tree. It was super cool. You should, if you're interested in like wild like CIA stuff, then like turning someone's router into like a signals intelligence base station and like sussing out all these details about what's going on around is like crazy. But you could basically do that with the smart light bulb. It was like you could infect it via an update. Most of the time they're not authenticated. You could just push an update from anywhere, and then you could have this malicious light bulb like messing up someone's house or spying on them, and connecting back and giving information to a third party. For example, like if you flash the light bulb and then it like connects back to the network and it has a data connection, you could have it connecting back to basically anything if you push a malicious firmware update to it, including something that would like maybe push a bunch of malicious features, execute them, and then roll them back. So if they were to do analysis on the device, it just looks like a normal light bulb. Totally possible. So yeah, these IoT devices are sketchy in my opinion anyway. I also am not a huge fan of like the video doorbells. I think that for one, like the fact that they like they will record, but they won't let you see your own footage. It's like they hold it hostage, like unless you pay them. Like that's dumb. Like I think that's extra dumb. And then I think that the proliferation of people just like doing surveillance outside their own home and like contributing it to like Nextdoor, or like some people have enabled like local police to be able to do it. And then they're starting to add like a layer of AI processing on top of it where they're like able to identify certain objects or people or actions or whatever. Creepy. Don't want it. Get it away from me. What kinds of security software do you use on your laptop, if any? That's such a good question. Let me go back to my screen and let's talk about it. So a couple of the things I have up, I wonder if you can even see them. This is just a knife and fork. No, I don't want that. Here we go. So this is one of the tools that I use. It's Lulu. And network monitor. Let's see if it pops up. So yeah, like this is something that will allow me to take a look at all the inbound and outbound network connections. Super cool to be able to like determine like what is and isn't allowed to be connecting, and also to say that it can't do certain things. So like there's also a bunch of rules here where I can have a bunch of services either allowed or disallowed from connecting. I can see all the third-party services I have running and like which ones like I might want to disable. And I can also see things like persistent hooks that have been like installed, startup items, like those are the kinds of things that I like to know. So these are all tools by Patrick Wordle. Let me pull up his website. 1 second. Objective C, as in looking. Here we go. So Patrick Wardle is a security researcher that's very focused on macOS. He used to work at the NSA, and I've met him at a number of different conferences, and he's just a cool dude. He did an interview with me one time where like the audio was so messed up that we just could not use it. And he was such a nice guy about it. Like I wasted like an hour of his time because our production team was just like having a bad day. So embarrassing. But anyway, he makes a bunch of open source tools that are based on his view that any piece of malware has to do a couple things to survive. It's like an organism, you know? So if you look for those signs of life or those things that it has to do to survive and propagate itself, then you can catch it heuristically, and you don't need to rely on signature-based antivirus. So there's a number of different tools. Oversight is a privacy-based tool that warns you when your camera is activated. Obviously, my camera is currently activated, so I got a warning that my camera's on. But this is designed to let you know whether or not you're being observed, because by default, the microphone does not have like an on light on macOS. Yeah, I do not. So I don't like that. I like to know when my microphone has been toggled. Knock knock. What does this one do again? It's been a minute. Oh yeah. So this allows you to see persistently installed software on your Mac. So as I was just describing, login items, cron jobs, like anything, startup scripts, like anything that is going to run every time you start your computer, malware has to do this in order to start up every time, right? So by being able to identify things that have persistently installed themselves, you can start to see whether or not there's things on your computer that you don't recognize. And it also does, it automatically submits hashes to VirusTotal. So if there's something that's known, like for example, there's a startup process that's like known to be malicious, it'll find it and identify it for you, which is awesome. So Lulu is one of my favorite tools. This allows you to get notifications anytime some shenanigans is going on. So anytime, like I get so many of these alerts for like Adobe and stuff like that. I usually allow them, but there's some programs I just don't want communicating with the outside world. And if I was to just get like a Python trying to connect, like a Python script trying to connect back to something, I would 100% know that some stuff is going on. So this is an incredibly powerful tool. I use it all the time. And I think it's really great. Yeah, you can see like the signature of like a program that's running. And I want to see if there's any examples of like bad ones, because I think that's funny. Maybe not. So yeah, this is another tool I really like. Let's see what else we got. Block. This is to monitor common persistent locations and alert you anytime something is loaded. So for me, every time Adobe tries to install a launch agent, I'm just like, absolutely not. Boop, and I just block it. So it hasn't broken anything, but I think it's really funny seeing how many programs attempt to like install these really like invasive, like persistent things that are quite annoying to get rid of. So I use this tool to prevent programs from creating like launch daemons. And I really don't like those. I think that it's super annoying to have my computer go slowly every time, a little bit slower every time I start, just because, you know, Adobe thinks that it needs to start up in the background or whatever. Like I don't want it. Do not disturb. Yeah, that's cool. The last one I wanted to talk about was Task Explorer is cool. Ransomware. Okay, this one's great. So this one, no, I already have it. I already do. Ransomware sounds like ransomware, and that's what it's for catching. So it basically detects if a program is encrypting an unusual amount of files, and if it is, it does a pop-up and it warns you that something is basically encrypting a lot of things. So if you were to see this pop-up and you didn't recognize the service that was encrypting stuff, you would hit terminate and it would kill the process and you would have stopped at least a portion of the ransomware attack. So having a pop-up that fires off like when a program starts executing a ransomware attack is a really good idea. I can't stress that enough. However, there are some false positives. So yeah, I think that the problem here is that like if like Google Chrome is doing an update, a lot of that is encrypted and you'll get this pop-up, which can be very scary. So you do need to get used to like Adobe and like Google like occasionally doing things that involve enough encryption to pop this up. So those are the tools I use. Excellent question. And I put these on basically all of the macOS laptops that I have. This also seriously made Veronis angry when I put this on a company laptop. So yeah. Let's see. In a show on Hulu, a woman used a smart light bulb to find the SSID and get into a network. That was fun. Yeah, so it turns out that most IoT devices store Wi-Fi network information persistently. So I can just take a smart light bulb out of the trash and do a bin walk on it and find usually plain text credentials for logging into a Wi-Fi network. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I suggest learn more how malware operates and how antivirus as well. And then you realize that if you're careful enough, you won't need antivirus in the first place. I don't know, man. I'm not very careful. I am a security researcher, so I do a lot of research. I do a bunch of risky stuff. So for me, having layers of stuff on my computer to detect a suspicious behavior is more important to me than, yeah, having like an actual antivirus. But yeah, I'll just say that like most people are not very careful. They are trying to use their technology, and that is the first and last directive. Let's see. Do you think that the work that you do makes you a target for threat actors? I do. So the level, so one of my friends, how do I even tell this story? One of my friends communicated to me that they had talked to like a cybercrime gang who were big fans of my Nullbyte work. So if you are a cybercrime gang that got your start on Nullbyte, then hello. Obviously, you get all kinds of people that are attracted to the kinds of training that I do. Honestly, my OSINT stuff is the stuff that causes the most problems. And the reason is that it attracts a lot of people who are like mentally ill. They have like paranoid schizophrenia. They are making a lot of connections between like logs and things that they're seeing. And they're just trying to find more information to pour on this like fire of paranoia. So I've had people reach out to me talking about how they've been hacked by, their girlfriend or their or whatever. And some of this seems real, but the vast majority of it is like a lot of disconnected dots kind of being strung together into a pattern that makes no sense. So for me, it goes in order of this, like people who are juiced up on my OSINT training and are suddenly like believing they're in the middle of a conspiracy and I'm the only one that can help them. Those are the actual biggest problem I have. Most of my Twitter DMs are flooded with these people. And I try to be nice and I try to like help as much as I can, but I just get raw logs dumped into Twitter or like zip files sent to me, that I'm just like, I'm not opening that, so a lot of the things I get are actually people who are like mentally ill and finding my content online and then using the search tools or whatever else to just dig up more data that feeds back into whatever they have going on. And these people are having a really hard time. And a lot of them are very desperate and a lot of them are just kind of grasping at anyone they think can help them. And it's, for me anyway, like those are the kinds of people I get contacted by the most. And then try to try to find my contact info on a variety. I've had people like call my home phone and stuff and like start telling me about their situation. So there's that. In terms of like hacking my stuff, I work in marketing technically. So I am not involved in like creating anything juicy. My coworkers are people that also work in like public facing stuff. So like basically everything I work on is like public facing. I have not accrued a lot of money doing this. So like going after my finances is just like, okay, you can buy like a used Honda, like congratulations. And I've been super breached so many times, as have everyone else at this point. Like I just have a general amount of exposure that's, I think like pretty, I mean, it might be a little bit more than the average person, but I also don't have like a ton to lose. I might regret saying that, but be that as it may, I took a couple important steps after I started doing like null byte episodes and started seeing more attention put on it. And the first was using a password manager that warns me about breached passwords. So like being able to get a pretty good list of all my different passwords and tell which ones had recently been involved in data breaches, it just kind of lit a fire under me to make sure that I wasn't reusing passwords anymore. Because just like everyone else, I was not always perfect about that. And then the other big thing is hardware-based security keys. My most important accounts are locked down with hardware-based security keys, which is a pain. You need to buy at least 4 of them. You need to have them with you all the time. Like getting a new phone, like I just got, can cause you to very abruptly need one to sign into an account that you didn't know that you needed. It's a pain. But integrating hardware-based security keys and moving away from SIM or SMS-based two-factor is kind of my like where I'm at right now with security and how I address the problem that, yes, I am teaching people how to do things that could very easily be directed back against me. And I'm not like vetting people in this process. I'm just putting like stuff out on YouTube. So cybercrime gangs and, you know, like all these other people like are watching it and then maybe considering like, hey, does this guy got money? I don't. But yeah, so that would be my answer to that. Yes, I do think that my work puts me at a slightly elevated risk. But no, I don't think that, you know, I don't work on internal or non-public facing things. That's a big deal. Like I don't have access to secrets, which is wonderful for me. So that's one big thing. So I'm probably not going to be very useful in a supply chain attack. And then on top of that, like, you know, like I've locked down my primary accounts to the point that it's just a pain in the ass to log into them, even for me. And kind of like cutting off some of the account sprawl that I had, I think was the other thing I did once I kind of identified that threat. You know, like at a certain point, your data gets breached, like you just got to deal with it. And there's only so much you can do. Like people can do what they want with it. And if you're a semi-public figure, that creates the elevated risk. For me, though, I have cultivated a disdain for crypto that is well known. So I think that if anybody were to breach like my Twitter account and then like start posting about like crypto deals, I think most of you would understand that I can't tell a Doge from a Shinogi or whatever. I don't know what's going on. So if you see any crypto scams, then it was probably me being breached. It's not me turning over a new leaf on that one. All right, that's an interesting question, and this is something that I also had to like talk about journalists with when they were going to like Russia for stories. Being that I was teaching a bunch of Norwegian journalists, like they had to be like, hey, so what happens if I just let the border patrol people take my laptop for like 20 or 30 minutes? I'm like, you should get a new laptop. You should leave that laptop maybe in Russia. So yeah. Let's see. The work that, yeah, does the work I do make me a target for script kiddies? Yes. The number 2 group of people that I'm in contact with are script kiddies that are telling me that there's something wrong with like my website or like whatever else. And I'm just like, my link tree? Like, what are you talking about? But they actually mean null byte. So a lot of the time there have been people like, hey, there's a critical bug or problem on null byte. It was like, I don't know, man. Like I've literally never been in charge of that. Like you got to go talk to someone else. So yeah, a lot of people attack nullbyte, but because I have literally just like a linked tree, a link tree as my personal website, like go do your worst on that one. You know, like if you're going to take down Linktree, like I think it's going to upset like a bunch of other people more than it's going to upset me. Have you ever been hacked? Yes, multiple times. I think most people have been hacked to some degree. My most famous having been hacked was, let's see, it was definitely when the Wi-Fi password to the startup that I was working at got breached because someone did that, like de-authenticate everyone and then pop up pretending to be the router doing a software update attack. So really easy to do. And we fell for it because like we needed to get the Wi-Fi working again and it wasn't working. And the router seemed to be just in need of an update and all it needed was the password. So we typed it in, it worked. Our internet came back on and then we had an uninvited guest on our Wi-Fi for a good amount of time. That was not the worst, but that was definitely a sobering moment when I learned that attack like 6 months later, being like, oh, that's what that was. I've seen this loading screen before. I've hacked myself where I had a Wi-Fi pineapple I plugged in and then started running a intrusion detection system. And boy, was the pineapple attempting to intrude. So I had all these alerts go off and it was just like, somebody's attacking me. Somebody is like outside in a van attacking me. And it turns out it was just like a stupid pineapple in my room. And then somehow someone got access to this really old Gmail I made in like 2007 that I used for like running events or something, and then created like a whole life on it. Like they were going to school, they were playing like Minecraft and all this other stuff. They had all these accounts, and then one day I was just like, the hell is this? And I just reset the password back to my original account and like logged in, and I was like, wow, this person in India has been putting themselves through like medical school using like my breached Gmail account. So I'm assuming like, at some point someone like breached it in some mass thing and then like sold it to someone and they bought it or whatever. But like taking my account back after like a year and a half of somebody else using it was crazy. It was crazy. They were up to so much stuff, but I'm actually really proud of them because they graduated. So if you are that girl in India that took over my account, then I'm really proud of you for making it through medical school. I'm sure I've been like hacked in other ways. I've hacked myself though, I think more than anybody else. And like I said, I also don't have any cryptocurrency and I don't care about it. So that makes me a much less tempting target because I have like, I just don't have anything like worth stealing in mass. Yeah. So okay, here's another question. Do I use VMs or am I just running shit on bare metal and hoping things do not get too bad? It depends. It depends. So I have a little bit of a system for like vetting tools before I run them. Like, like I'll look at the GitHub repo, I'll see how many stars it has, I'll see how many people are using it, I'll see if other people have talked about it. And I'll get a general feeling for, whether or not this is a popular tool that's in use. If it is a popular tool that's in use and has a pretty good reputation, I'll sometimes just run it, but I'm always looking for like warning signs, like installing a cron job or like doing something persistent or starting to do a bunch of encryption or something like that. So there's definitely a couple warning signs for running a program I think that is even like a well-used, well-known program. But if it's something new, first of all, I will never run a program that someone sends me on Twitter or something like that. I'm just like, I'm just not interested. I'm sorry. I don't even do that much programming. So like, if someone sends me a cool proof of concept or something, I'm extremely skeptical. I just like, I either won't do it or like, I almost will never do it unless I like know the person. But if it's a tool that's kind of a wobbler in the middle, then yeah, I'll use a VM or I'll use like a USB thumb drive or something with an operating system running on that, just to give myself a little bit of a firewall between. Like I do have files, I would be pissed if they were gone, so I try to protect my primary computer from anything too risky. And I have like a ThinkPad with like a broken mouse that I use also for things that are like, I want to keep it away from like my primary computer that's like expensive. Have I wanted to get the OSCP certification? I wouldn't mind doing it. It's not critical for my job, but I think that a lot of people that I know are going along that journey, and I think it would be really interesting also to kind of refresh my skills. As I said, I'm kind of a generalist, so I have like a pretty broad knowledge of cybersecurity, but like with a specific focus on like Wi-Fi networking and a couple other things. But I would love to buff up on some of the more general principles, so I wouldn't mind it. Can you recommend some value for money laptop specs on a cybersecurity machine? And why do you use Apple? So why do I use Apple? I will use Apple anytime my job buys me a MacBook. They are expensive and you can trade them for a car if you need to. I would say like Apple devices, especially when you're doing media work like I do, just tend to work and they're Linux-like enough that people have built bridges to being able to do 90% of the stuff I would want to do on a Linux computer. So if you give me a Mac, I'll use it. It's great. It just works. It's expensive. And I think some of them are so thick, you could probably stop a bullet with it. Like if you were wearing it as like a plate. But yeah, I would say if you're looking for a good second laptop, like something that you can beat up and work with on cybersecurity projects, I would highly recommend like ThinkPads from eBay. That's my go-to. I was a little disappointed that my last like T whatever currently has like the mouse buttons are messed up and like you have to take out literally everything out of the computer to replace that. Now I know why it was on eBay. But it was like $400 and it's a really nice laptop. It is a touch screen. It has everything. It's really slim. And it was like cheap. So everything that I need to do cybersecurity wise, I do on that throwaway laptop because this one is already on its way out and I don't feel the need to kick it any further. So yeah, like I highly recommend ThinkPads. There's entire like websites on like which ThinkPads like make the best like cybersecurity or just like which use ThinkPads are like best for a number of different things. But yeah, use ThinkPads. That seems to be the consensus of most of the cybersecurity community, is like they are the best for a cheap cybersecurity focused laptop that has probably supported Wi-Fi, and then the ability to run Linux. You know, all that stuff's great. I'm acoustic. Oh, that's great for you. That must sound beautiful. What would make most sense to use resources on you? Okay, yeah, I think that what is my wiggle stat? Okay, so my wiggle stat currently, I just transferred to a new device, so I can't really tell you, but I will say that I am between the 300 and 200, like between 300 and 200 in the world for war driving. I can't tell you which one, but I'm closer to 200 than I am to 300. So I'm doing quite well when it comes to war driving. Getting to go to a lot of places and war driving constantly is a hobby of mine. So yeah, I am doing quite well, thank you, in the war driving stats. Cool. All right. So I came in late. What are these hexagons in the background? Hexagons are cyberpunk. They are. So these are the culmination of a project I've been working on for a while, where I have a bunch of LED strips. I'm like, I need to do something with these. I bought too many. Like, I have to find a way to do something cool with these. And first I tried this LED light box project, 3D printed like light box. I used to be surrounded by them, but I guess I gave them all away. It looks pretty cool, it looks nice, but like it's not like amazing. And also it uses like LED rings, which are a little bit more expensive than these strips, which again, I have a million of. So I started looking on Thingiverse and I found these hexagon lights, and they use these lenses. And basically, if you want to just run an LED strip continuously, you can do it and arrange them in like whatever way allows for that. You can make them quite big. And you can do this if you have access to a 3D printer, and then some black filament and some white filament, or I just use white for both on a couple of mine. So this project actually is using white for both, is just running WLED. But what you can do is you can provide a JSON file that tells it where the lights are in each cell. So basically it gives it the number of the lights that are in each cell, and you can address it then by each cell. So if you want to make the effect like, you know, like, so each cell does a different thing or whatever, you can absolutely do that. There's the ability to customize these to make them look really nice. So there are a couple restrictions, like you can't create non-continuous patterns, obviously. If you really wanted to do that, you could, but these ones are basically like, you put them down in the pattern you want, you secure them to the foam board, and then you run the line through it. So you can't, like, they're not like modular. Because that would be expensive. And at that point, you're basically like competing with like Nanoleaf or Hexleaf or whatever. So yeah, like I've seen these in the store for like $200, and being able to make them for like $20 or less is really, really fun. I highly recommend people check it out and try it. I've seen some new ones that are really cheap that you tap them on and tap them off. I don't like them. I don't think they look as good as these ones. So I prefer the animations. I think the animations look cool. And this was actually something that I taught to do on, I think, one of my other channels. Let me see. I'll find it. So if you want to try these out yourself, I think this was this a short that we did? Yeah. Okay, let me turn this on. There we go. All right. So if you want to try this out yourself, this is what you got to do. This is so small. Okay. Yeah. Can I make this bigger? No, I can't. That just made it so much worse. There we go. Okay. So yeah, basically, what we did here was, are you going to play? There we go. What we did here is we took a nugget, we connected it to a strip of LEDs. We printed out a bunch of these little like hex leaf like things with holes on the side. We arranged them so that the holes were continuous, so we could do like a big long segment. We flashed WLED to the microcontroller that's connected to these, and that's in this case the Nugget. And after connecting it to our home Wi-Fi, we were able to then control them from our phone. Yeah, overall, this project takes like maybe 15 minutes or so. And as you can see, the placement of the nuggets of the hex leaf with the nugget inside for the first time. And this is an even bigger version that we did in another room. So yeah, I have to say, I was very, very pleased with this project. And we did it as a workshop at the C3 conference, where I brought a bunch of these and we put them together. it was hard to bring them through security and fly them all the way to Europe because these parts were a little bit bulky, but I was super happy that I was able to basically finally use these LED strips to make something really beautiful and cool. So yeah, if you have access to a 3D printer at a makerspace or even your own, you can make these, and the instructions, I believe the Thingiverse link is linked here. So yeah, check it out if you want to make your own. This was one of our most popular workshops that we did at the C3 conference, and I really, really enjoyed how it worked. Oh yeah, and also glow in the dark filament would totally kick this up a notch. We actually played around with doing that, but glow in the dark filament is really difficult to print on brass nozzles because it's really rough on them. It'll kind of like dull them over time or like cause like wear on them. So if you're brave enough to 3D print with like glowing filament, then this would also look really cool. Here's a question. Do you think there's a difference between being a hacker and being a pen tester? Yes. I think pen testers are specifically red teaming security people who might have a variety of skills within that domain. They could be cloud people, they could be hardware people, they could be Wi-Fi people, they could be Linux people. There's all these different specialties they could have. But their primary focus is on simulating an attacker. So they're supposed to be behaving like a real attacker would. So they're supposed to use these adversarial tactics. They're supposed to be using bleeding edge stuff. They're supposed to be able to simulate an attacker without crossing any lines, which is really difficult. You need to know what's in and out of scope. You need to not actually disrupt things. So their job is very specific, I would say. So within the hacker community, pen testers are kind of seen as as within the hacker security community, pen testers are seen as probably some of the most like some of the people who are applying these offensive techniques and offensive principles in a legitimate, legal way constantly. Whereas other people like researchers like myself or whatever, we might be doing defense, offense, like we're doing all kinds of research. We might not be specifically focused on attack and emulating an attacker. So that would be the biggest difference I would say between just generally hackers and pen testers is that pen testers are offensive only for the most part. Like there's not a defensive pen test team. That's the blue team. That's different. So yeah, I would say like it's definitely more focused on offense. All right, let's see. Can I make a live stream talking about the ESP32 and MicroPython and cool project in IoT and cybersecurity? Yeah, that actually sounds great. I already have a lot of different projects. And in fact, like we did talk a little bit about the ESP32S3 today, talking specifically about this Bluetooth spamming attack, and then also how we can use the same hardware to detect the attack and track down people that are doing it. So microcontrollers, specifically the ESP32 line, are really hot right now. There's a lot of great things you can do with them. So yeah, I would love to do that sometime. All right, I'm like half an hour almost over, but so many good questions today. I just wanted to answer as many as I possibly could. Oh yes, James, if you do buy a steel nozzle, then printing with rough filaments, like things that have carbon fiber in them or things that have like glow in the dark, are also acceptable. I think wood might also be maybe like not so great on brass nozzles. I don't remember if you can print like wood filament, but I think that I remember that one also having some complaints about it being somewhat rough. But let's see. Okay, so I think that's just about everything for today. Oh, let's see. Have I tried any board on Flipper Zero yet? No, I'm actually really afraid to fry my Flipper because it's so expensive, and I've given out all the other ones to people. So as a result, I don't think I'm gonna be plugging too many things into my Flipper anytime soon. It's just too expensive, you know. Like I really don't want to break it. All right. So last question is there the GitHub repo anywhere for the spammer? Yes, but remember, you need an ESP32S3. This is also built for the Nugget. There's a version of this which you can buy as a kit, which is right here. That's how you can make it. You just got to select the ESP32S3 kit. But yeah, so if you want to check out the GitHub repository, it is right here. And you can also, so this is for the BLE spam detector. But if you want to check out the one for the spammer, then it's right here. And I'll drop that in the chat. All right, so I think that's all the time we have for today. Thank you to everyone for hanging out with us. I feel like we answered a lot of questions and, went over a little bit, but that's all right. As always, if you enjoyed the stream, please go ahead and go to varonis.com, varonis.com/Kody, Kody, because it lets everyone know you enjoyed the stream. It lets Varonis know that them sponsoring this is a good idea and that the hacker community appreciates these streams we do every week. So big shout out to them for letting me not only go to the C3 conference, but also get to do the stream every week. Yeah, I will see all of you next week. Actually, no, I'll see all of you on Friday, where we may actually have a surprise guest. And I'm going to immediately ruin the surprise by telling you that it's the person that made the Bluetooth spamming / Bluetooth spam detector on the Nugget. So love to talk to community members who are making cool stuff. And frankly, getting to see like this prototype just come out of nowhere was awesome. So Bluetooth spam person, if you got any questions, we'll be doing a special Friday stream where they come on for a little bit and talk about what they made. So yeah, really, really looking forward to that, as this is an awesome little tool and I enjoy playing with it. All right, everyone, I will see you on Friday. Have a good week. Hopefully I don't freeze. Bye.